Hey, it's Carly Burr. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I wanted to share a question that I have been getting asked frequently about why I left most social media platforms over 7 years ago now, and if, or in this case, why I will never be going back. I say most social media platforms because obviously I have YouTube still, hi, and I do have Pinterest also. And people are always comment YouTube is also social media, and they kind of roll their eyes at me. And yes, I'm not saying that YouTube isn't social media, but the way that it functions, the way that we interact with it is very different than the way you interact with like an Instagram or a Facebook. At least in my own experience, that's been the case. It's very different the way that it's structured and the way that it interacts with you on the daily. That is why there's a little asterisk next to most social media platforms, because there are two that I participate in, this and Pinterest. I thought I would share my reasoning in hopes that you might resonate with it, or in hopes that it might get you to rethink your usage on certain social media platforms, or just get the gears kind of grinding around if you could spend a little bit less time or maybe no time at all, what might be best for you. I thought that maybe sharing my experience could be helpful in some way. One of the first reasons that I left that I had written down was because I found myself getting caught up in the stupid stuff. I'm talking like getting so annoyed that people would post certain things, and how that was affecting my mood and the conversations that I would have. So I found myself being like, oh, can you believe so-and-so would post this? Why would somebody ever post something like this? I don't understand. And just like going off about how I don't understand why this would be posted, blah, 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 to my husband or to whoever I was talking to. I would just like be constantly complaining, I guess that's a good way to explain it, about what other people were deciding to do or to post, which is pretty pathetic of me if you think about it. That's not the type of person that I wanted to be. It's not how I wanted to spend my time, not who I wanted to be known for, as someone who's always complaining about other people. So it just wasn't aligning with who I was striving to become in my life. And that was a huge reason why I decided not to have it anymore, because I'm like, this is such stupid, pointless, wasteful stuff that I'm consuming. And that's probably just how I used these platforms, just to be ignored by people from my past. You know what I'm talking about? It was just so stupid. And so I'm like, it's gotta go. Next reason was it was a waste of my time. When I had free time or a spare moment here or there, and I find myself on my phone, on Instagram or on Facebook, looking at annoying, pointless stuff, I didn't want to spend my time there. I had goals, I had ambitions, I still do in life, and I was just not leaning into, I guess, my potential, because I was wasting all these free pockets of time when I could be spending them more productively or in ways that can build me up or help me learn a new skill or bring me closer to the goals I had in life. It was just a time waster that I didn't want to spend another minute on. Another reason why I decided to leave was because of how these platforms could distort reality. I was really sick and tired of seeing everybody's highlight reels, and I was also really sick and tired of seeing, like, at the time I feel like it was really big for a spouse to post like a love or like appreciation post about a spouse, about the other person in the relationship. And maybe this is still a thing, I don't know. But at the time, I feel like lots of people would like post this just long lovey-dovey post about their husband or wife and how grateful they are and how much they love them. And this started to bug me because we had a specific couple who were our friends, who I was close with her, and she had told me about this recent fight that she and her husband had been in, like within the last couple of days. And then he had posted this post to like love on her and show people how much he loves her, almost as a way of apology, and that bothered her. And so then every time I saw one of these posts, I was like, I wonder if they just got in a fight, which it's none of my business. That is none of my business. But I did catch myself having that thought. Is this even a genuine post, or is this just them trying to suck up to the other person? So anyways, it just kind of distorts the reality, because you see this post, at least in my friend's case, we see this post that her husband does of her and how much he loves her, how wonderful of a wife she is, etc., when they had just been in this horrible argument where they were struggling in their marriage. But that's not the image they're portraying. So anyway, it's just that people post a highlight. They post things that aren't giving you the full story, which they don't need to share everything. But that whole side of it really irritated me because it's not real, it's not authentic, and goes against how I wanted to see people and interact with people. So another reason, gotta go. Next reason is that I enjoy my privacy. When I was on Instagram and on Facebook, I wasn't even a big poster. I wasn't a person who would share a lot of my life. I would post very infrequently. And this was before stories were even a thing. So anyway, I wasn't someone who shared a lot of my life because I've always valued my privacy. And so now that I have kids, I really, really enjoy my privacy. And I'm really happy that I made that decision 7 years ago to leave. And my children will have that privacy. I think privacy is something that is a value that I have that is becoming kind of lost, or maybe people just change the way they view privacy. But privacy, in a nutshell, I will stop rambling. Privacy is another reason why I decided to leave. Another reason I left is wanting to be a more present person. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be fully in the moment rather than distracted by my phone. I wanted to really enjoy people's company, be engaged in a conversation, be a good listener, and not have the habit, the default of like pulling out my phone and going like this, like multitasking, because people do that to me all the time. It really irritates me. But I wanted to be someone who was really just fully there in the moment and in every relationship and every setting that I had a chance to interact with other people. I wanted to add this little side note to this specific thing about being present and people being on their phones when I'm talking to them. So most of the time that I am with someone, and if they end up being on their phone and scrolling Instagram while we're in the middle of a conversation, I don't think that they are doing it intentionally. I think it's completely a robotic thing. I think it's such a movement and habit that's just part of them that they do it without even noticing. I don't think they're doing it to send me a message of "you're boring me" or I have no care in what you're talking about right now. Maybe that's the message they're sending and I'm delusional, but I honestly think that it is just a habit that a lot of people have. So maybe it's time for a little self-analysis. If you are one of those people, maybe you have no clue that you're one of those people, but maybe if you find yourself often on your phone when others are talking to you without even thinking about it, maybe you can be more mindful about that and more intentional about when you do spend your time on social media, and not just letting it be something that is a habit and a time filler and a default action when your body is like not in motion. You know what I mean? Another reason I'm not on social media is because of the way that it affects teens. Now, I was lucky enough, I guess you could say lucky enough, not to completely grow up on social media. I think I got an Instagram account when I was in high school. So when I was in junior high, it wasn't a thing. I think when I was in high school at some point, I don't remember which year, that's when it became created. And even then, it was still in the very beginning stages. So it wasn't like everybody had an Instagram account. The girl I babysat was the one who told me about Instagram. And she was like 3 or 4 years younger than me. So she knew about it. And I was like, no, I'd never heard of this. Like, that's just to go to show you that it wasn't that big of a deal at that time. And then progressively, obviously, over the years, it became more and more of a thing that just everybody had. But at the time, it wasn't that way. So it wasn't used in the way that it is now. So for the teens now, or those who have grown up with it, the way that it's affected them, I don't think I need to go into the details because all of us know how it's affected the teens and the adults. But for me, the teens have a special place in my heart. And I don't think that it's fair that they have this pressure to be on social media. So I'm not going to support it. I'm not going to support those platforms that I think tear girls' self-esteems down, make them feel like they have to expose parts of themselves to get attention or to be liked or to be viewed a certain way. I'm not for that. So can't support it. So another reason why I've decided to stay off. Another reason I'll never go back to social media, and this one's more recent within the last couple of years now that I have a kid, is that I want to be the example to my children. And I've said this in another video before, but I want to be the example of living a whole, full, fulfilling, connected life offline. I don't want my kids to grow up seeing me being on social media. I mean, obviously aside from YouTube, but like spending my spare time like scrolling through Instagram or posting stories or like sharing a lot of our life online, because I don't share any of my life in my YouTube. It's always just me sitting here like this. So I want to be that example for my children because, like they say, a lot of the things are caught from your children. They are not actually taught. So I want to be that person that my kids catch these things from me because I'm actually living them and doing them actively in my life. Another reason I'll never go back is because of the push for normalcy. I don't even know if that's a word, normality. I might be sounding really dumb right now, but whatever the word is for the push for something that should not be normal to be normal, meaning in this case, making this really complicated, people exploiting themselves and not respecting themselves for the sake of followers, for the sake of attention, for the sake of building up your online presence, discounting, all things that could be sacred and should be sacred just because you think it's more important to build a following or to be liked by people. And that's becoming more of a normal thing for people to share certain parts of themselves and to post certain types of photos or videos is just becoming normal when it's not normal to share like that unless you're on certain special websites. But anyway, so the lack of respect is becoming, for yourself, becoming a normality is what I'm trying to get at. Unrealistic expectations is the next one that I wanted to include. With all the filters, all the things you can edit out of a photo to post online, and this I guess kind of ties in with a couple other things I've talked about, but people have commented on my videos and they've confessed, and it's usually men, and they've confessed and said, yes, I will admit I have been looking at women lustfully over Instagram for X amount of years, and because of this, it's damaged relationships in their life because it distorts reality. There it is again. And it creates unreal expectations. When you see a photo of a beautiful, beautiful girl who is in a thong bikini, picture from behind, perfectly plump booty with no ripples, no imperfections whatsoever, anywhere on her body to be found. And then you get into real life and people that you're meeting or trying to connect with don't seem to meet up to these bootylicious expectations because we're actually real life humans, or I don't even know if that's even a good example, but maybe you get what I mean. People have these unreal expectations, maybe men specifically, or maybe women have this about men too, that they should be this perfect person when that perfect person doesn't actually exist. So this creation of unrealistic expectations is actually sickening. And like I said, people confess on my videos that they have this problem, that they've been lusting and it's been changing their mindset, and it's been having all these effects on them, and that they are ready to be done, or that they've totally, completely stopped now looking at these images of these perfected women because they know that it's not real. They're like sucked in. It's like pornography, I guess, in a way. They're like sucked in to this idea and this feeling of these perfect people. There's probably like 4 or 5 that could be tied together that I've already talked about, like the lack of respect for themselves that these women aren't having because they're willing to post these things, and the effects that it's having on the men that they're not thinking about because they don't care. They just want the followers. They just want the attention. You know what I mean? It's just this vicious cycle that it's nasty. It used to make me so mad, you guys, and so sick to my stomach. Let's see, 2 years into my marriage, I was working at the specific place I've been working at since before we had gotten married, and I was like the only girl in the sea of men in the profession that I was in. And a lot of them were about 5 years older than me, so we were all in our 20s. Anyway, they would always be showing each other pictures of women on Instagram, and they would be like, dude, look how hot she is, or like, check this out. And it would just boil my blood because I knew they had wives at home, and I was just like, I'm witnessing this and I don't know what to do because it just made me really uncomfortable that they're always looking at other women when they have a wonderful, beautiful wife at home. Like, how would she feel if she knew the things I knew that they're talking about while they're at work with their buddies? Like, it would make me so sick, and I'd go home and talk to my husband and be like, oh my gosh, can you believe these things they're saying? I'm like, you don't talk like that, right? Like, and then it makes me start being paranoid because I'm surrounded by all these not very great people talking about other women behind their wives' backs. Anyways, just a nasty part of it that I just didn't want to see or be a part of anymore. And I don't work there anymore. Haven't for a long time, so whew. Now I have all calm feelings and I don't have to get my blood boiled by all these men complaining or lusting after other women in front of me. I'll just wrap this one up and tie it all together by saying unreal expectations are created and lust is then created. And I want nothing to do with it. Another thing I wanted to cover was how social media can keep you in the past, specifically the platforms where people are updating, constantly on their life vacations, their daily life, whatever it is. It can keep you attached to the past when we don't always need to stay in touch with all people from our past. Of course, it's great to stay in touch with those close friends. It's great to stay in touch with people who you love and who respect or who mutually love you back, to stay in touch with them. But when you find yourself having this account where you follow all these people from your past and for what reason, you haven't talked to them in how many years, you never actually were even friends. It just at one point was a thing to follow all people that you knew their name back in high school. But just that it can keep you stuck in the past. You can continue to watch these things that have no impact, no influence on your life whatsoever. It can make you have feelings of regret, feelings of disappointment for how your life has turned out compared to someone from your past's life, and we're all on our own journey. I just think that it can keep you tied to the past if you're not careful at cleaning out and filtering through who you choose to follow and who you allow to stay in your life via social media. All right, getting close to the end here of other reasons, and I could probably make a video that lasted a day and a half talking about a bunch of reasons, because I could go over the negatives like I've been doing mostly, I could go over the positives. This next one is kind of a positive because one of the reasons is that I enjoy other pastimes. I genuinely enjoy other pastimes. Everyone has their thing. Some people, their pastime is scrolling. And maybe that's okay if they're using it, very intentionally and very structured throughout their days, that they have this slot of time where they just enjoy scrolling. They just want to tune out everything and they just want to scroll. For me, I don't want to do that. I enjoy other things. So for me, this wasn't a pastime that I wanted to be in my life. I wanted to enjoy the other pastimes that interested me rather than the scrolling. So getting rid of the social media opened up that space for me to enjoy other pastimes. Another thing that I've talked about time and time again is that staying off of social media keeps me focused on what actually matters in my life. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me intentional. It keeps me less distracted. It keeps me on top of my relationships, my friendships, because I have to be actively reaching out in real life because I'm not seeing the updates on social media. I have to be in touch with my friends to know that they're going on this vacation. I have to really put forth effort to, create strong friendships and to make new friends. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that challenge, you could say. I enjoy that part of my life, building and creating and finding and forming relationships. I enjoy that part of life. And I feel like if you're on social media constantly doing that, you almost feel like you're connected to all these people when you maybe aren't as close as you could be if you were to spend more time with them offline or actually getting to know them, or not feeling like you already know everything because you're caught up on their social media. Like, we have so much to talk about when we get together if I haven't seen everything they've posted online. So it keeps me focused on what matters very most, and it keeps the garbage out of my life because there's enough garbage in life as it is. And if I don't have to have social media to distract me or to throw crap at my face, then why would I choose to have it? For me, I just wouldn't, so I don't. And that's the last thing that I think I wanted to include today in this video. So maybe there'll be a part 2 another time because there's a lot more I could talk about. I just wanted to include that if you feel pressure to be online just to show or to prove to people that you are a certain way, just to be able to perfectly curate a version of your life for others to view so that you can feel better about your life, or so you can feel better about yourself, or so you can compete with other people. If you felt that way, or if you feel that way, it's complete bogus. It's not true. And you're most likely ignoring other issues. If you're portraying a certain life to be there and it's not actually that way and it's just the highlight reel, and there are things you could work on, because there's always things we can all work on, we can all improve, we can all be better. We're all constantly trying our best, learning, progressing, failing, tripping up, falling, making mistakes. This is just the name of the game of life. So if you're trying to portray people that your life is perfect, it's all figured out, and that you're happy as can be when you're not, and that's not actually true, you're ignoring bigger problems that deserve your attention. And maybe you should do the exact opposite and get offline, take a break, and pay attention to those things and actually start living a happy life instead of just trying to convince everyone else that you're living a happy life. I'd love for you to live a happy life and not just try to fool everyone else that you are happy. So don't fall into that trap of feeling like you have to display this curated life of all your vacations, of all of your happy things so that people know that you're happy. You gotta prove to people that you're happy, you know. No, you actually don't. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. You should just focus on living your life the best that you can and helping people the best that you can and in living the best life that you can for you, not for anybody else. So there's my 2 cents. Take it with a grain of salt. Hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully it gets you to think about the way you use social media, or to maybe take a moment to reflect on ways you could use it more intentionally, or habits you could break down and change around your social media usage to be more present, to be more intentional with it, or to leave it all together. And in wrapping this video up, I wanted to invite you to join the offline diaries, which is my little letter that I send out very inconsistently, where I do my very best to motivate and inspire you to live life more offline, where I talk about things that promote life offline, and I share experiences of mine from my life offline, where we can just connect in a different place, connect with other like-minded people who want to spend more time offline, or who are trying their very best to do so. So join the offline diaries. I'll put the link in the description, and I hope to see you in your inbox hopefully really soon. Thanks again for being here, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.